Hey everybody, this is Jordan. Welcome to Flying Dollar Motorsports. Today I'm going to try something a little bit different. This will be the first time I'm using the narration feature to try to give you a little play-by-play on what's going on in these videos. This is Test B of the Penrose Sprint Enduro in the CORCS Racing Series, otherwise known as Colorado Off-Road Championship Series. I'm racing the C-Class Warrior, which is all active and veteran for military riders. We're down here in Penrose. The conditions were, it was October. It was in the 70s, but it was very dry and there was no wind. Why that mattered is because, as you can see here, it is a very sandy course, and it's not like beach sand, it's a silt. So it's very loose, very hard to ride in because your front end washes out, but it's also very dusty, and with no wind, you'll see later that it lingers on the course in front of you. It was so bad that actually when the A and B riders rode in the morning, they extended the time between riders taking off from 15 to 30 seconds because it was so bad. The A and B riders going first really did tear up the track too. You can see some of these ruts that hitting here, like that one there that I missed that's not even a bad one. I think I was checking my tire there thinking I might have a flat, but some of these ruts were peg deep. I mean, definitely scraping the pegs, and it made it hard. This is the second time I've run this test. This is the B test, so you can see I'm trying to avoid the ruts a little bit. The first time I did not realize how bad I was at riding loose, silty ruts. It took me forever. As you can see, I hit that one there, but I did try to avoid some of them. This Test B is the shorter of the two. I think it was only 3.1 miles, but it was all down here in the lower area of the ranch that we were riding on. You can see it's weaving through trees. It's kind of along the riverbed. We'll see a river running through here in a few minutes. And Test A, which I'll do another video on, was kind of upper on the higher ground. It was a little more open, a little bit faster riding, which honestly suits my talents, I guess. I don't know if I would say I'm talented, but it suits what I'm better at. This one being tight, it didn't really suit me well. I had a lot of trouble with the first go through here. I was able to play with my steering stabilizer a little bit and firm it up a little bit. Helped me a little bit through here for the second time, and it was a little bit easier, but starting to get tired. I was out of riding shape for sure. I hadn't ridden since like July. Again, this is October, and I was out of the country for a couple weeks, and then had other stuff going on. I just really hadn't ridden, and arm pump was starting to set in, but definitely fatigue and getting out of breath, because I'm riding a 2016 WR450, and it's a heavy bike. It's compared to a lot of the guys riding those two-strokes out there, it's just a very heavy bike, and it wears you out. You can kind of see some evidence of that truck that was going by here, and I believe, you can see a little bit of dust plumes up ahead. That I'm catching up on somebody, I think. Here's some really loose sandy areas I'm hitting. I mean, this stuff my front end was really loose, washing out. Granted, I have kind of a crappy tire on there. Probably going to upgrade that soon. But going through, just loose and sandy, and really robbed you of traction. You can see that dust just sitting in the air there. There was no wind, there was nothing. So that was one of the things that also made this difficult, is anytime I got past or I was coming up to pass somebody, you really had to slow down, because even in the sandy areas, it's loose sand, but it was really throwing the front wheel around a couple times, trying to rip the bars right out of my hands. And you just couldn't see with that dust, and it made you really kind of have to back off the throttle a little bit, because you didn't want to wash out or hit a big whoop or a big rock. There was a lot of huge rocks and baby head-sized rocks, and some of these whoops, as you'll see a little later in this test, were, they were deep. They were, almost knee deep in some of them, and I am not skilled enough on the whoops to skirt over the top of those, especially as tired as I was getting. So this guy, he lets me pass him here. Thank you for race etiquette. Coming back down here, kind of started to get up there on the hill a little bit, but we're coming back down towards the riverbed here, and it gets pretty tight again, and again you see a lot of these ruts that were left from the morning racers. It was also getting pretty hot here too. I think we started racing at 12:30, so it was getting pretty warm. This little turn right here, as you can see, it's like a 180 turn, but it is uphill, and that thing was loose. And the far right line was, I took that in the first test, and that rut is very deep. It is definitely a difficult turn to execute smoothly. And back down in here into these light, brush and the woods, you'll see here there's a couple spots in here where the trees are just barely enough to get your handlebars through, and you really gotta whip it back and forth because they're in a turn. As you come in here, you can see the river. You come out here onto the little beach. It's sand underneath, but all those rocks that you see there are, they're maybe fist sized, and they are definitely traction robbing. The front end was real loose, and the back end just did not want to dig. Too low a gear and you just spun, and too high a gear and you would bog down. So there's definitely some clutch work in there. And you kind of hit that bank a little bit later on here in this same test. Again, really loose, really sandy there. Working your way through the trees here. It opens up a little bit here. This was a nice little, kind of a little bank turn, but as you can see there was sand at the end, so it kind of wasn't the easiest to navigate, but a little bank turn you can plant and try to get a good drive out of there. That one's really loose. You see how built up that was, just sand there. And here's some of those bigger whoops I was telling you about. I tried to wheelie through them here, but I couldn't ride a wheelie all the way through all 4 or 5 of those. And those weren't even the biggest ones on this test. Overall, this was, I would say, harder than the Penrose Sprint Enduro that I recorded a little earlier. It was definitely tighter, and I guess it could have been because I was a little bit more out of shape, but I definitely think this side was much tighter. And you'll see if you watch the other test A of this race, there was a lot more technical sections even in the quote-unquote faster test. Again, more loose, sandy, whooped out area here. Narrows back down quick. There was a lot of times when almost all of this test you could not see the next turn. You could not see what was coming out of it. So it was very hard to, figure out what line you wanted to take to exit a turn or set up for the next turn in the turn you were in, because you just couldn't see it, and you couldn't remember every single turn, which I couldn't. I know some people can, but I couldn't. So that's another thing that really sapped the time away from you, was just not being able to predict what was coming next. There's one of those tight tree sections. I think another one comes up pretty quick. That was actually pretty close. You see where they cut a log to get you through there. That was pretty close. And here's another real tight section there you got to get through. another tight one here, a couple of ruts. And there's another tight one right there. You see, I was kind of checked myself. I think I actually nicked it on that one. I think in the third test I was actually so tired I actually bumped into it with the front handlebar and had to stop and, pull the bike backward a little bit, get going again. I didn't fall over, but it definitely cost me some time. Could have been bad if I was going any faster. Track workers there watching me struggle through, riding the struggle bus. See me look back there. I think I can hear somebody coming up. Yeah, I was letting somebody pass me here. A faster rider. Again, there you can see that dust is making it hard now. This guy actually falls right in front of me after he passes me. There you go. That actually happened to me twice today. When I went on to the A test, the guy passed me and he fell, but I didn't quite catch up to him. I was riding slow because of his dust plume. And then he fell again in a huge plume of dust. I couldn't even see him in the dust, and I had to figure out how to get past him. So he fell twice in front of me. And down here by the river, you can kind of see the rocks there indicating that down by the river, whooped out section, trying to wheelie over them a little bit. At this point, I wasn't too tired to wheelie. By the third time I raced this, I wasn't wheeling over anything. My arms were pumped up so bad, and I was just worn out. Oh, little tank slapper there. Came out and lost some traction around that hill, and I was fully sideways on that one. It's hard to tell in the video, but I remember that one, thinking that I was surprised that I pulled it out. That guy right there that had passed me, significantly younger than me. The Warrior class is just any active duty or veteran of any service. So that guy, I was speaking to him, he's actually a pretty young guy and pretty quick. He actually made a wrong turn because he was I think he was 2 guys ahead of me off the start. He made a wrong turn and came back and still couldn't pass me. So this was a little double that I know some people were saying they jumped it because of that. The run up to it was this loose, sandy, baby fist-sized rocks. I never had the confidence to jump it as tired as I was. So this right here, these ruts were massive, or these whoops. Those were very tough. And again, that really loose sand covered up by deep rock was pretty tough. There's some more of it. It starts to open up here a little bit. You can see it's not quite single track now. It's a little bit wider. You can see some riverbeds there to your left, or the river is to your left. I blew this corner right here every time. I always came over it and overshot it every time. Couldn't get it right in any of the tests. But this last section here, it opens up a little bit and I can get some speed, but this would have been a nice area to just ride through and not race through. It's October, the fall colors are changing. It would have been, a nice pretty ride to cruise through and, hang out with your buddies and stuff, but obviously we're racing here, so I didn't have much time to look at it until I saw it on the video. Coming up to the end here. If you're liking what I'm doing, please like and subscribe. I've got some Nissan Xterra content, I got some classic car content going on, and obviously going to continue with the dirt bikes. Please like, subscribe, and come on back maybe for the next test. Thanks.